Go to national executive, will pay the chair. Okay.
Yes, that's sure.
Good morning, Chief. Good morning, Chairman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on the respective locations. Stand for the national anthem. Thank you. Your Excellency, Chiefs, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to welcome you to the 52nd annual general meeting of the company, AIICO Insurance PLC, holding here in Lagos. May I call upon the company secretary to announce to the meeting if the quorum is duly formed.
Mr. Chairman, sir.
His microphone is off. Chairman's microphone is off.
Chairman, you are there.
Am I audible now? All right. So I once again declare the meeting open. All the directors who are still serving on the board of AIICO Insurance PLC are here represented, and because of the circumstances of the time, are all connected from various locations. In accordance with our usual practice, members present will have the opportunity to review the operating results of the company for the year ended 31st December 2021 and participate fully in the proceedings. Please be informed that owing to the guidelines of mass gathering, the numbers of persons present at the venue is limited. We have received proxy forms from our shareholders for the purpose of this meeting. I'm not muting. Is it some admin muting me? Because I'm not muting myself. Okay, am I audible now again?
Yeah.
Okay. I will therefore request that anyone present and asking question, making comments or seconding motion should speak clearly through the microphone and commence by stating your name in full. The Register of Directors Holdings is available for inspection during the meeting in compliance with the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Before we proceed into the business of the meeting, I would like to introduce to you my colleagues on the board. Mr. Babatunde Fajimirokun, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the company. Mr. Ademola Adibisi. Mrs. Folake Edun. Mr. Donald Kano, the Company Secretary. Mr. Adewale Kadri, the Executive Director Technical. Mr. Samaila Zubairu, connected remotely. Mr. Raymond Snyders. And Mr. Olalekon Akinyami. In line with COVID-19 protocols as approved by the state and federal government, the key management staff of the company are all connected from the remote locations. However, the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Oladeji Oluwatola, is available in person to take all your questions as they relate to the finance and audit accounts of the company. I am Kundan Senani. I also like to welcome the representative of Nigerian Stock Exchange, Lillian Dako, the representative of NICOM, Mrs. Ladi James, the representative of Security and Exchange Commission, Adewoy Adeyemi, the representative of Ernst & Young Professional Services, our external auditors, representative of registrars of the company, Coronation Registrars Limited, and the members of the Statutory Audit Committee, the Vice Chairman Chief Edmund Nzoku, Mrs. Esther Augustine, and Chief Robert Igwe. I also like to recognize Chief Sone Inwosu of the Independent Shareholders Association of Nigeria, Mr. Alex Adio, the Chairman of Dynamic Shareholders Association of Nigeria, Mr. Boniface Inwosu, the Chairman of Progressive Shareholders Association, Mr. Matthew Akinlade, Prince Omojola Anthony, and several distinguished members representing various shareholders across the country. May I also welcome the person of the Emeritus Chairman and core shareholder, Chief Dr. Oladele Fajimirokun. Welcome, sir. Other shareholders are here represented by proxy in the persons of Mr. Lawrence Oguntade, Mrs. BC Bakare, Mr. Chibozur Ike, Mrs. E.O. ODBE, and Mr. Matthew Akinlade. All other shareholders association leaders are hereby recognized. This meeting is being streamed live. This will enable shareholders and other stakeholders who will not be attending physically to follow the proceedings. The link for the meeting online live streaming has since been made available on the company's website at www.aicoplc.com. I will now call on the company secretary to read the notice of the meeting. Mr. Kano. Thank you, Mr. Kano. Am I to read my report or have it taken as read? Okay, thank you. I will now ask the representative of our external auditors, Ernst & Young, to read the auditor's report.
separate financial statements. In our opinion,
Sorry, 1 second for clarity.
of these duties. Signed on behalf of the committee by Mr. Samaila Zubairu, Chairman of the Audit Committee, on the 25th February 2022. Members of the Statutory Audit Committee are Mr. Samaila Zubairu, Chairman, Sir Edmond U. Njoko, Vice Chairman, Mrs. Funke Augustine, Member, myself, Chief Robert Igbe, Member, Mr. Adimola Adebisi, representing the board, Member, and Raymond Sinders, Director, Member. Then the report was the company secretary, legal advisor, acted as secretary to the committee. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, Chief. Just for the clarification and for the sake of record, since the chairman of Statutory Audit Committee was not connected, we have requested one of member of the committee to read the report. Thank you once again, Chief. Okay, so we are going to the ordinary business of the meeting today. With the first item of the agenda is the report of the directors and the year 2021 accounts. So as the first item of the agenda, I lay before you the report of the directors, the balance sheet as at 31st December 2021, the profit and loss account of the company for the year ended on that day, and the reports thereon of the auditors and the statutory audit committee. I hereby move that the report of the directors and the balance sheet as at 31st December 2021, together with profit and loss account for the year ended on that day, and the reports thereon of the auditors and the statutory audit committee be and are hereby laid before the shareholders. Would someone please rise and second the motion?
I, Matthew Akinlade, I second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions arising out of this motion? In case of no question, we can, to ensure that we answer your questions adequately, please refer to the pages on the reports and accounts to which your questions relate. I would also suggest that the members should be brief in their comments and restrict questions to one or two to afford opportunity to other shareholders representative to contribute. So questions on the annual accounts.
The chairman of the board, the managing director, board members here present and participating virtually, statutory audit committee members, regulatory authorities, and my esteemed colleagues, shareholders, good morning or good afternoon. My name is Matthew Akinlade. I'm the president of Noble Shareholders Solidarity Association. First and foremost, I want to congratulate the board and management of AIICO for a great job done in a very difficult year, 2021, which had a number of issues that affected business negatively. I congratulate you for being able to raise your heads above the water by extending your gross premium income. It's not all insurance companies that can probably say this. So I congratulate you. From 60.6 billion, you were able to move to 70.6 billion. Unfortunately, when we look at the bottom line, we have a decline. The profit after tax came down from 5.2 billion to 4.9 billion. It's still, for me, it is still a good performance, given the circumstances under which you operated. There are few things I would like the directors or the management to speak to, that is, clarify them. Looking at your net claim expenses, 2020 could be well understood. That was when we had the NSA protests and other big issues, when you have 31.6 billion net claim. It's further extended to about 40 billion in 2021. How did we come about this? Is it our risk assessment that is faulty, especially as to the direction of our business, the kind of policies that we concentrate on? We need to look at this. Another thing that I found baffling is the investment income. The previous year, it was 52 billion, and it was positive. But in the current year, it's a negative of 16.5 billion. I don't understand. If it is investment, either we are earning interest or we are earning dividends, and so forth. I expect I have a little for you to have some gain rather than negative. That's this I'm talking about is on page 13 of the annual report on the result at a glance for the year. Page 13, the year at a glance. So all those figures look odd to me. And if you go to note 31 on page 140, we again have net fair value of financial assets. It was a positive of 30.6 billion the previous year. Now we have a negative of 34.6 in 2021. What are these financial assets that gave us this negative value? Still on page 140, if we look at the operating expenses, there are some of them that are out above the inflationary level. If you look at marketing and admin expenses, from 430 million, it went to 1,067,000,000. The increase there is 148%. It's astronomical. We need to understand it. Then office supplies and stationery. In an era where people are going paperless, we also extended that by 29% from 117 million to 151 million. So that's one twist. did we increase the number of executive directors that we have? Is it terminal benefits or whatever that is responsible for the huge jump? On page 10, where you have the directors, out of 9 directors, only 1 is a female. So it's I think AIICO need to be more gender sensitive and improve on that. Okay. All right. Another thing I want to
Chief
mention that you have
Prince Akinlade, I'm sorry to
independent
interrupt you here. It looks like most
Kama
of the
2020
members
prescribed
connected
3
remotely,
independent
they are
directors.
not able to hear.
So we need to do something about that. Page 40 and 41, I look at attendance at committee meeting. It is super. And I believe the directors are showing a lot of commitment to the business of AIICO. So I give them kudos for that. Thank you. Page 38, donations. We made a donation of 33 million. It's commendable given the circumstances that even our own profit too came down slightly. However, looking at the details, I want to advise that we need to include charitable organizations, that is looking after the less privileged in the society as well. Please, going forward. Page 42 and page 43. That's where we have corporate governance assessment as well as board evaluation by SIAO. To me, the report just look like copy and paste. You understand what I mean? Because in every detail, the 2 reports appear to be the same, except for the name, corporate governance or board evaluation. So I'm just worried at the quality of the report by the assessors. They need to do better. It's like, I just look at it, it's like copy and paste, which should not be, and I believe the company might have paid them for the service. Page 44, that's audit committee membership. In that audit committee membership, you still have 3 directors and 3 shareholders. Kama 2020 prescribed 2 directors and 3 shareholders. So I think we need to look at that to ensure that we drop one of the directors when we are constituting the new audit committee today. When I look at auditor's report, page 85, and I look at the last paragraph there, I was highly impressed by the performance of AIICO.
Thank you very much, Prince Akinlade, for your comments. I just wanted to make a comment here that Prince Akinlade's audio was not very clear, and the members who are connected remotely, they were not able to hear. So I request that members either they speak closer to microphone, or this technical team must fix this, because the audio is not very clear. It's not reaching to the members connected remotely. But I'm sure the CFO must have taken the notes, and he's going to respond the questions appropriately. So the next question.
The regulatory authorities here present, fellow distinguished shareholders, good afternoon. Chairman, my comment, I want to start on the note of appreciation, to appreciate the board and management for the job well done. One, on the detailed annual report. Two, improved results. That is on page 4. Okay, sorry. My name is A.K. Chibuzo Emmanuel, the General Secretary, Independent Shareholders Association of Nigeria. Thank you. I continue on page 4. You will see good performance by the management and the board. Further to that, you will see page 26 and 27, which shows the members, the management, the pictures of the management that did this job we are having today. Talking about commitment, pages 40 and 41, which shows 100% of all the committees. This must have been the work of the General Secretary, the Secretary, who gave notice, and all the committees worked to achieve this result we are having today. I want to appeal to my members to give them a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I appreciate the 2 kobo we paid, plus the bonus we also recorded in this annual report and year under review. Pages 73 and 79 shows the board and management and the results also we are having today. Pages 4, we made 13 kobo, or we paid 2 kobo. I want to suggest, Mr. Chairman, that going forward, we can conveniently pay 5 kobo. Anyway, by my own calculation. I noticed on page 13 and 14, that we lost some businesses to the tune of 51%. I want to advise that going forward, management should look for businesses that we can go in and make more money for us. Possibly the cost of the laws, maybe pricing. We should reprice our products or our business to make sure that we gain more from our competitors. Pages 13 and 14 also, we have trade receivables. That improved. And I would say kudos to the management. Pages 33, we have donation. Though the earlier speaker have said something on it, but I want to suggest that we should have like a AIICO foundation, which we can use as a vehicle to equally assist both the charitable or the less privileged or others that need also our assistance. Page 142, I want to talk on contingent and commitment. Though the board said 4 billion is not anything that they can shake on, but I tell you 4 billion on our contingent liabilities. If we have an option of going out of court, I want to suggest we should look at such option and settle the differences. Pages 148, I need an explanation on inadmissible the word inadmissible. But then if you look at right of use of assets and you compare that figure of the figure in 140, there is a difference. In 140 we have 104, whereas in 148 we have 105 million. We should look at it. Page 140, levy to Nikon. It came down. I want to ask why, and my why also extended further that, is it that we dropped some businesses or they didn't charge us again this year? Page 141, related party transaction. I want the emphasis here is we have an outstanding from Magnatis Finance and Investment. I want to suggest we should go all out to get that money. 186 is quite significant. There are people also that need to use this money. I want to suggest the management, no matter how it's been described as common director. That word common director, anyway, the message is sending to me is that maybe the management don't want to go further to recover that money. But I want to suggest here that we should go all out and get back the money. on this note, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I say thank you so much for the privilege given to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. E.K. Emmanuel. I think this time we were able to hear clear and crystal. Thanks for your word of appreciation. When we hear good words from our shareholders, it really motivates to do better. The questions have been noted and will be answered along with the other questions raised by the members. Next member to raise the question, I just once again request to make it brief. Limit your questions to 2 or 3 and avoid repeated questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, the members of the board, the regulator authority present, the shareholder that is watching us online, and my own co-shareholder. I don't know, we have color code today. I should have been on blue because 70% are on blue. It's only we on this line, we are on the same color. So next time I will be on blue. Maybe they did not inform us. Mr. Akinlade are not in blue. So next 70% are not on blue. Look at the men. Sir, that is for another day. Sir, we appreciate the 2 kobo. But I believe now there's no kobo. Next year, we are expecting some improvements.
I'm sorry, please introduce yourself.
Your name, please.
Sorry. My name is Mrs. C. Obide, National Coordinator of AIICO of God Shareholder Association Incorporated. The former speaker took our line, which is not supposed to be so. Female on the board, the gender. Way forward, sir. I think it should be more 30% or 33 at least. You know, you should not stress yourself in this life. If you don't want to quickly have gray hair, you should at least 33. When you have 33, the stress, you will not be able to have gray hair on time. But because we think better, that's why God created us. Any successful man, you should have a female. So next year, we are expecting like 3-4 female on the board. Madam, you don't need it. Okay, thank you. High five. Sir, our board, they are the serious type because when I saw the attendance of the different committee, it is well in the committee. When you see board that are active, the percentage of the attendance will show. The attendance will show us that there is no matter how the country is, we must surely have dividend. So let's give them a round of applause for making their attendance. The external auditor, let's take the key audit matters. It matters, it helps. It helps so much. The advice they gave us, please let's make use of it. It's very, very important in a company. I have just few points. Those are my few points because Mr. Akinlade has taken all female points, so we have to just say few. So next time, maybe we'll call us before calling Mr. Akinlade, Ibadan people. Thank you for the opportunity given to me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Odibi. Next member, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors, regulatory authorities here present, my co-shareholders, good afternoon. My name is Mrs. Bisi Bakari, the National Coordinator of Pragmatic Shareholders Association of Nigeria. Much has been said by the earlier speakers, so I'm going to be very, very brief. I'm going to start my comment with the inside page where we have facing the future. Looking at this gives us, how will I put it, that we investors, we stakeholders, that we are on it together, and this is highly commendable. Having said that, I will also go to page, that is notice of the meeting, where we have the bonus. I think for me, as an investor, I want to really commend the board management of AIICO for the bonus of 12 shares for every 9 shares. Of course, I listened to my colleagues. They are complaining of 2 kobo. But when you convert the bonus given by this company, that is the script of 12 shares for every 9 shares. It's equivalent to 61 kobo. Yeah, we can calculate it. So on that note, I want to really commend the board for the interests of your shareholders. Having said that, I will go straight to page 67 of the annual report and accounts. From the page, I want to ask that what is our board doing to embrace agri insurance and derive maximum benefit from this opportunity? I want the board to look at it. Again, I want to ask from the board that what is our board doing to strengthen its enterprise risk management? I will also like to know. On that note, finally, I want to use this opportunity, and like the earlier speaker said, of course, we appreciate the board for giving us 1 female director, but going forward, and God spare our life, because I think I complained about this issue last year, the board should please look at it, at least to have another 1 female director on our board. On that note, I want to use this opportunity to thank the entire board for the opportunity given to me to be here this afternoon. Once again, God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bakare. All the points well noted. We'll take 1 or 2 more questions, if there are any.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm standing on assistant protocol hand Comrade Lawrence Oguntoye. I want to appreciate the management in spite of macroeconomic challenges, regulatory headwind, cost of foreign exchange. I want to appreciate you as regard the financial indices. Although we observed that the financial issue was dropped. And we should understand the situation we have now. Because I observed the issue of dollars that rose to 600 plus is part of an issue, it's part of a logical issue that may affect the financial indices as well. And the issue of dividend that was given, I sincerely want to appreciate our mathematician. It seems she knew what I intend to say as she got the bonus that was given previously. I want to appreciate our mathematician, that's Mrs. Bisi Bakari. I join her. Sincerely speaking, we want to appreciate you. For that 2 kobo, you've done something wonderful. So we should not look at, yeah, it was as if she know my point because I've made the calculation. Mrs. Bisi Bakari, thank you for that. And I would like to narrow my comments on the advice and also the question. But before I go to that, I noticed that one of our subsidiary, that is Shade Limited, unable to perform as expected because the financial performance was dropped drastically, and I want them to see to this task so as to safeguard our bottom line. I want to appreciate the internal and external auditor. They performed tremendously. Kudos to them in that regard. And also, the issue of regulatory, I want the management to be proactive as against the penalty from the regulatory authority. I want it to be proactive. Same on the advice. I observed in annual reports sensitively that the relationship is an asset. And I want the management to see to it so as to educate and also to orientate our staff the more in regard of the bottom line. I would like to also, still on the advice, in order to have, that's the issue of cancellation of an issue share. On this note, I would like the management to please educate our shareholder the more in this area, which is very sensitive. But on this note, I want to appreciate the company secretary, because most of our shareholders don't really understand this cancellation. I was at a meeting here in Bari. It's one of our proactive shareholders, close to like 90. We were agitating, we were clamoring for the issue of unissued share to be transformed to the bonus. By being an educated and expert, I was trying to tell them the negative effects that one is going to drop the share, another not to give room for the bloated shares. We need to understand, and it will not really favor the company, neither the shareholder. So I try to sensitize them, because most of our shareholders really don't really understand. They see it as a cheat on their part. And for being educated, they grab it and they welcome the idea. So I want to appreciate the company secretary, because most time when I throw these kind of questions to him, he quickly orientates and give you more education in regard. I want to submit to the question. And the question one is, how far have you gone on the issue of recapitalization? Although I saw it in annual report that we've met up the 18 billion, maybe the AIICO will still come, we see reform that system. But I want us to play ahead, surely in case they call for beyond. So I want the management to please move beyond, at least to plan beyond that. That's why I'm asking, how far have we gone on the recapitalization? And also, what are the company plans for the future? Especially now that the financial institutions are entering into insurance company. What's our plan concerning that? Because insurance, the financial institutions are entering into the insurance business. Another question, please. Excuse me, sir. Part of my okay, let me submit, because I can see distraction at the back, so as to give them chance to speak. But on the final note, sincerely speaking, I want to appreciate the board and management for being effective at this tense, sensitive, competitive environment we find ourselves. And also, I want to appreciate our able and amiable MD and a very genius man. I sincerely want to appreciate Mr. Babatunde Fajemirokun. We appreciate you for your excellent performance, and also want to appreciate our accessible company secretary. You just keep it up. Most time we knock at your door, 247 you answer. More strength to work stronger beyond our expectation. And I want to say from our angle, as a shareholder, we're going to create a robust relationship from the pool of our professionalism so as to add value to the sustainability and profitability of our company. On the final note, I want to say thank you. Congratulations to AIICO, congratulations to eminent shareholder. Well, I wish every one of us safe journey to our respective home. Thank you for the opportunity. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Your name, please.
Thank you, sir. Comrade Lawrence Oguntoye. That's the organizing secretary of our virtual group, which comprises of 7 registered shareholder association.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll take one more brief last question if there's any before we start answering your questions. Any other question? The last brief one.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, regulatory authorities present, distinguished shareholders. My name is Olufemi Ajayi. I'm from a private equity firm. First, I'd like to commend the management, the board, for a job well done in terms of the results, the strategy, the processes, the controls in place, and the way you are managing the risk for the organization. Just 2 things. One, I think in my recent interface with with some members, I realized that we would like to have a consistent dividend policy. I know for the previous years we have this in breakup. Is it possible that this is not just going to be a one-off thing? I don't mind if the dividend this year is 20% dividend policy, but can we just have something that we believe can be consistent every year, not that it's going to be one-off and off like that sometimes. It's good to see that we are back, given that we have been able to overcome the challenges of the COVID, and then we can see ourselves giving dividends to shareholders this year. The second point that I want us to look at, and I know it doesn't come up often, is that I would like the board to look at manage the risk over shareholders' record. I did have an interface with them, and I know we may be exposed in that area, and I would rather want us to actually check to be sure that we don't get into any legal exposure in that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So before I request our MD, CEO to take a few questions, and then followed by CFO, and maybe 1 or 2 questions to be answered by company secretary, I just wanted to say, ladies and gentlemen, shareholders, your word of appreciation, it means a lot to us. It motivates to do better, provide better results, and add value to the organization. I also, some of the members have raised the issue of gender equality, bringing more female members on the board. If you can look into our annual accounts, corporate social responsibility section, it is very clearly spelled out that we support gender equality, and I can assure you that going forward, you're going to see this change. With this note, I will ask MD, CEO to take up some questions, especially in the area of our future plans and the products like agri insurance. One of the member, Mrs. BC Bakare, has raised. If MD can answer these questions, followed by finance-related questions to be taken up by our CFO.
Good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon, shareholders. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I will answer some of the questions, as the chairman has said, and I'll hand it over to my colleague, CFO, behind you, to answer some of the other questions. And the company secretary will also provide some context on some of the areas around governance that were raised. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. The first gentleman, Mr. Akinade, asked a few questions around net claims expenses, investment income, operating expenses, as well as fair value gains and losses, directors' emoluments, in addition to diversity targets that were asked by almost all the shareholders present, and of course some comments around donations and the board evaluation, which the company secretary will address. So I want to first start with the claims, and I'll break it into life and non-life. The page you read from was a combined figure. So on the life side, claims increased, in particular in our group life business. Now, those were really affected by specific risks, such as NNPC. Our actuaries might tell you that it's not related to COVID, but we are not sure. The reality is the death claims increased significantly over the past 2 years. The key thing that our shareholders should be comfortable with is that we have adequate reserves to pay for those claims when they occur. The second thing is that those risks that were not priced appropriately, AIICO Insurance has reduced its exposure in 2022, and also in some cases exited them completely. The second item that caused the increase in claims was a reduction in premiums for the PENCOM regulated annuity. For our shareholders, you would know that AIICO has annuity liabilities upwards of 40 billion naira. So even if we might write 2 billion in a year, we have to pay annuities worth of a portfolio of 40 billion every year, which hits the P&L. So for example, the payments for annuity might be 5 billion a year. And if we only brought in premiums of 2 billion, you would see an increase in claims. But it's really just transitional. The key thing, again, AIICO is adequately reserved for those payments, and there's no impact on the shareholders' funds. And you would observe that the shareholders' funds actually increased. Yes. I will now provide some context around fair value gains, investment income. We earn investment income from the policies we have on our books, but we also have fair value movements in those assets. We invest most of those assets, we invest mostly in bonds, long-term bonds, to largely match the duration of the liability. So I'll take one product again, PENCOM regulated annuity. If we have liabilities of 40 billion, we have assets of 40 billion and above, matching that liability. The term to maturity for those liabilities can be 20 years. So we have to invest in bonds of 20 years. Everyone understand so far? Yeah. When there's a change in the movement in interest rates, the value of the liability and the value of the asset changes. When interest rates fall, the value of the liabilities increase. And same thing for the value of the assets. When interest rates rise, like what happened in 2021, it increased by about 5.4% for the 2049 bonds. It means that our liabilities drop and the asset values also dropped. So, sir, you would observe, if you glance, you would observe that underwriting profit compared to last year is positive this year, and investment income from compared to last year is negative this year. They are mirroring each other. So it's essentially a risk management, asset liability management to ensure that the shareholders' funds are protected while at the same time generating profits for shareholders. I hope that explains. Yes. Okay. In terms of expenses, directors' emoluments, especially executive compensation, no, sir, we did not increase executive directors. My compensation and his compensation did not increase astronomically. The CFO will provide some more context on exactly what has happened. CFO.
Thank you.
MD. So what happened with the... Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
CFO.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
MD. So what happened with the executive compensation on the executive compensation line is that we have what we call deferred compensation for executives that we just started. And so what we did was a portion of their bonus will be recognized in, it will be recognized in the P&L, but they will not have access to it until 3 years' time. So that was recognized last year, 2021, and that's why you saw that increase. There was no increase in their salary. There was no other increase to the directors. Thank you. Yeah.
In addition, sir, the deferred, if you recall in the new corporate governance code, executive compensation is supposed to include short-term and long-term to ensure that there's an alignment with shareholders. So every year that there's a bonus for all staff, executive compensation, about 30% of that bonus is deferred for 3 years. So what is recognized in the accounts was what was deferred for 2019 and for 2020. So for 2 years, that was actually recognized. And that's why it appears to be that significant. And it's from AGM to managing director. Yes, sir. On operating expenses, CFO.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you, MD. There were some few questions also on the operating expenses. Last year was when we came back from COVID, and you will notice that maybe due to supply shortages and co, so prices started rising since last year, and this year it has even risen further. So the price of commodities and the fact that people had to work from home, so we had to supplement their internet and also try to give them, support them in a way that they'll be able to work from home. So that led to increase in expenses on some lines that you noticed. MD, can I take some other questions? No? Okay, thank you. So we appreciate all the questions and all the comments from the shareholders. There are some other questions. MD has taken the bulk of the questions, which relates to the yield movement. Some other questions include the NICOM issue, the fall in NICOM levy. So before 2021, the NICOM levy that, before 2020, NICOM levy was known to be 1% of GWP. But we usually know the exact amount we were to pay after we agree with NICOM when we go to Abuja. So then, before 2020, we were not recognizing NICOM levy in the books in the year that it occurred. We recognize it the following year because we'll have the discussions, we'll agree the amount when we get to NICOM. But in 2020, NICOM made it clear to us that going forward, it is 1% flat. Because before then, what we used to do was to deduct whatever we have paid to, commission paid to brokers were deducted. But NICOM made it clear in 2020 that we should not be doing that. Just go to your GWP and take 1%. So don't look at the industry NICOM levy. Look at your own NICOM levy. Even though brokers will still pay NICOM levy, don't deduct it from what we are paying yours. So it became clear, and since then, in 2020, we had to recognize NICOM levy on the same, in the same year. And because we had 2019 coming from that we were recognized in 2020. So in 2020, we recognized for 2 years, 2019 NICOM levy and 2020. But in 2021, we recognized for only 1 year, which was 2021 NICOM levy, since we are sure of the amount. So going forward, it is only 1 year. So if you see, you will see that just take 1% of our GWP and you have what you have in NICOM levy. So that is what happened there. 2020 had 2 years, 2021 had only 1 year. Okay. The recapitalization plans, MD, you take that, or should I try?
Okay, Shareholder, I'll try to conclude some of the questions very quickly. There was a request to explain inadmissible assets. Inadmissible assets is as required by the prudential guidelines of NICOM, which ensures that only essentially marketable securities or assets that can be quickly converted to cash should be the kind of assets that should be backing policyholders' liabilities. So there are some assets in our books that are inadmissible. A portion of property is inadmissible, for example, and some areas around transition accounts between companies. As long as it cannot be converted to cash immediately, is restricted. Yes. On the recapitalization, of course, we know that it's still in court. So NICOM has not come out with a new or dated guideline. But what we've done is to still follow what was released initially, and we are over 18 billion recapitalization. Thank you, shareholders. We noted the comment on related party transactions, and the MD of AIICO Capital is here, and we will take that forward. It's actually something that is tracked, as we've noted it in the accounts. There is no inertia to not follow up with it. We will follow up with that particular related party transaction, sir. Yes. On multi-shield, that's noted. We will continue to work on that. But of course, as you know, there's an update now in the Healthcare Act that was just signed by the President of Nigeria. We are studying it, and we will update the shareholders when we have a lot more information from the new authority. The company secretary will provide context on the governance concerns raised, the diversity targets, madam, cancellation of unissued shares as well, just to provide some more context. And in addition, sir, there is a consistent dividend policy which we will communicate to all shareholders. And on the notice on the shareholders' record, the company secretary has also noted that as part of our risk management going forward. Thank you, sir.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be very, very brief. The first point I'd like to address has to do with board evaluation by SIAO. I'd like to say that changes don't happen on a regular basis in every company, or in any company for that matter. However, we are also aware that our regulators differ on 2 points. One, NICOM requires that we provide these reports year on year. SEC actually says we should do this once every 3 years. Now, you know how this works. If you do just once every 3 years, NICOM will hit you hard. So essentially, we keep going on every year. And like I did say, it doesn't matter who it is that comes in to carry out this evaluation. The real issue is, what have they been able to pick out from the company? What have they been able to see in terms of the in-depth evaluation that they've carried out? There is a huge report that comes in, and this same report is actually shared with each of the regulators. And we take these items on and address them on an ongoing basis. What you do see here is basically what is required for us to show that this evaluation actually happened. it does not have to carry every bit of detailed information that had happened in-house. And I also aware that you do know that our reports are sent to our regulators and they have never had reasons to flag any of this. We can assure you that we continue to follow up on what needs to be done at every point in time. As been said by the shareholders here, that is why you can actually attest to the fact that our board is very, very erudite, and the directors are up to date in terms of what they need to do to carry the company forward. Secondly, I'd like to correct an impression. You recall, sir, that last year, we actually brought in a request in line with the extant law that we now have 2 directors representing the company in the audit committee. And the shareholders here approved 2 directors. And that is basically what we have been running with. However, we are looking at a 2021 report that was carried from the previous year. As at that point, it was actually 6 members, 3 shareholder representatives, and 3 directors. So that's the third point. Well taken. Our female colleagues have continued to say this, and we are very conscious of that fact. We continue to look at steps that we need to take in line of diversity, and we are actually going for this. Thank you very much. He'll take on the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, good afternoon, shareholders. On the agric insurance, we actually got license in 2018. And we are one of the very few insurance companies that got license to sell all the products that we went to AIICO. And since 2018, we've been selling. So what we first did was to set up a very robust underwriting department, because agric insurance is very technical. So a lot of risks that we find in the market, they're actually substandard risk. And we cannot just bring them on board because we don't want to deplete shareholders' fund. So in last year, we made over 100 million from agric insurance. And we also paid about 80% of it as claims. So we set up a department that will also go and inspect any agribusiness that they are giving us. And most of the things that we get from the market is that they are not that standard risk. So we are carefully selecting our risk, but we have the approval from the regulator to actually sell all different types of agric insurance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your questions, your valuable inputs and comments. And thanks to MD, CFO, Company Secretary, and ED Technical to respond your questions. I hope we have answered most of the questions, but if still there are any questions, you can send by way of email to the Company Secretary and it will be responded appropriately. It is now time to vote. As I stated before, voting on the items on the agenda, except for item number 6, will be by poll. I will invite the registrar to explain the e-voting process to the distinguished shareholders and other stakeholders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here is a brief description of the voting process. Having gotten requisite approvals to hold a meeting by proxy, we have captured a total number of 453 proxy details and holding 26,5,635,131 units, representing 71.04% of the issued capital. Hence, the voting result will be displayed in addition to the votes cast here today. For shareholders that have been given a voting device, please know that it has been configured to represent your shareholding in AIICO Insurance PLC. After the resolutions have been read out, the shareholders are to cast their votes in line with voting decisions. Your respective voting devices have the button A or 1. So we have 2 devices. Some of them are in alphabets, the others are in numbers. So button A or 1 is for yes vote. Then button B or 2 is for a no vote. and button 3 or C is for an abstain vote. Once the voting has commenced, please press the reference button in accordance with your decision or choice, and know that each shareholder can change their vote during the voting period. But once the voting period has ended, the last button you press will be recorded as your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bishola. I hereby move that the annual financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2021, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, audit committee, as laid before the members at this annual general meeting, be received and adopted. Would someone please rise and second the motion? Thank you, Mrs. Bakare.
I so second Mr. Chairman. Bakari Adebisi is the name.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will now vote on the resolution. Registrars, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting will last for 10 seconds. You can cast your vote. Okay, voting starts now. Thank you very much. So the voting has ended.
Can you announce the results?
Okay, so we have 467 shareholders who have voted for this resolution, holding 26,074,072,146 units, representing 100% of the votes, voting holdings of shareholders present here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With 100% voting in favor of the resolution, I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. The agenda number 2, which is the declaration of dividend. The next item on the agenda is the declaration of dividend. Pursuant to the powers vested in her by the provision of Section 426 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, KAMA 2020 of Nigeria, your board of directors hereby proposing a dividend of 2 kobo per share from the retained earnings account as at December 31st, 2021. Accordingly, I hereby move that a dividend of 2 kobo per share amounting to Naira 732,105,520, subject to withholding tax, be and is hereby declared in respect of and out of the profit after taxation for the year ended 31st December 2021, payable to those shareholders whose names appear on the register of members at the close of the business on the 20th of May 2022. Would someone please rise and second the motion?
I rise to second that motion. My name is Mrs. C.O. Obidei.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Obidei. We'll now vote on the resolution. I'll again request registrars to come forward and do the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting will last for 20 seconds. Voting starts now. Five seconds. Voting has ended. Thank you. I ask that we remain patient while we announce the results. We have 467 shareholders who have voted for this resolution, holding 26,074,072,146 units of AIICO insurance shares, representing 100% of the shareholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Once again, with 100% voting in favor of the resolution, I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. The next item of the agenda is the election and retirement of the directors by rotation and re-election in accordance with the Articles of Association of the company. Messrs. Olalekan Akinyemi and Raymond Snyders are directors retiring by rotation under Article 102 of the Companies Article and Section 285(2) of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Being eligible and having indicated their willingness to stay in office, they also present themselves for re-election. I think both directors are available on this meeting. Well, to save time, and if you agree, I will propose the election by the single motion for this re-election. I hope we can go for a single motion, please.
The shareholders would require that the election be done one by one, sir.
All right, no problem. We'll go by one. So, I hereby move that the retiring director will take up Mr. Olalekan Akinyemi first. Mr. Olalekan Akinyemi be and is hereby re-elected director of your company. Would someone please rise and second the motion?
I, Matthew Akinlade, I second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Registrars, can we go for the voting now on the resolution?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Voting will last for 20 seconds. Voting starts now. Ten seconds. Five. Thank you. Voting has now ended. I ask that you remain patient while we display the results. We have 467 shareholders who have voted for this resolution, holding 26,074,072,146 units, representing 100% of the votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sola. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. I now move that the retiring director, Mr. Raymond Snyders, be and are, is hereby re-elected of your company. Re-elected director of your company. Can someone please rise and second the motion?
I so do, Mr. Chairman. My name is A.K. Chibuzo Emmanuel.
Thank you very much, Mr. A.K. We'll now vote on this resolution. Registrars.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting will last for 20 seconds. Voting starts now. Ten seconds left. 5, 2. Voting has ended. Thank you. We ask that you remain patient while we display the results. We have 467 shareholders who have voted for this resolution, holding 26,074,072,146 units, representing 100% of the total vote casted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. We are moving to the next agenda of the ordinary business, which is the appointment of auditors and authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. The audit firm Ernst & Young Professional Services, the external auditors of the company, have performed their duties creditably for the outgoing years. In accordance with Section 401 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, Messrs. Ernst & Young have indicated their willingness to continue in office as external auditors of the company. It is, however, required that their remuneration be fixed by the company in general meeting or such manner as the company in general meeting may determine. I therefore move that the firm of Ernst & Young be and are hereby reappointed as the auditors, and that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix their remuneration, who have indicated their willingness to continue in office as auditors of the company until the end of the financial year. Would someone rise and second the motion, please?
I, Comrade Lawrence, hereby second the motion.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Okay, in case of no questions, we will now vote on this resolution. Once again, registrars, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Voting will last for 20 seconds. Voting starts now. Ten seconds left. Voting has now ended. We ask that you remain patient while we display the result. Thank you. We have 466 shareholders who have voted for this resolution, holding 26,060,243,182 units, representing 99.95% of the total vote casted, while we have one shareholder holding 13,828,964 units, representing 0.05%, who voted against this resolution.
Thank you. With the majority of shareholders voted in favor of this resolution, I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. So we are moving to the next item of the agenda item of the ordinary business, which is the disclosure of remuneration of managers. The cumulative effect of Section 257 of CAMA 2020 and Section 230 of CAMA 2020 demands that the issue of the remuneration of managers of the company must be disclosed to members of the company at the AGM, and that such disclosure is categorized as a key business to be transacted at an AGM, which can be deemed as an ordinary business of the company's meeting. Your company has clearly categorized in note 23A3 on page number 134 and note 37B 3 and 4 on page number 142 of the annual reports and accounts the key management personnel compensation and directors remuneration for the year ended 31st December 2021. For ease of clarity, the senior executives compensation is categorized into the fixed pay, short-term incentives, long-term incentives, and retirement benefits. The short and long-term incentives align with the organization's incentive scheme and are derived from the annual bonus that accrues to the staff in the reporting year. The annual bonus crystallizes based on the following overriding conditions: profit before taxation, positive retained earnings, and return on equity. The long-term incentive components was started in 2019, constitute 30% of the eligible employees' annual bonus and vest after 3 years. According to the organization's deferred bonus scheme, the long-term component, although converted to phantom share units, using book value per share is settled in cash. Details as contained in the pages earlier highlighted in your annual report and accounts. I therefore move that the remuneration of the managers be and is hereby disclosed to the shareholders. Would someone please rise and second this motion?
Chairman, is noted. Progress to the next point.
Are we not going for voting for this item?
Chairman, it doesn't require voting. It's been noted by the shareholders. We move to the next item.
All right. Okay, thank you. So we are moving to the next item of the agenda, which is the election of members of Statutory Audit Committee. In accordance with section 404(3) of CAMA, the audit committee shall consist of 5 members, comprising 3 shareholders and 2 non-executive directors. Consequently, the board has elected 2 of its members to represent it on the audit committee. They are Mrs. Samaila Dalhat Zubairu and Mr. Raymond Snyders. As for the shareholders representative on the committee, this company secretary reported that 4 nominations had been received by him from members in accordance with section 404(6) of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. All the 4 nominations were confirmed valid. I will now invite the company secretary to go through the names of the nominated members.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon again. Prior to the preparation of the order of proceedings, we had 4 names. Unfortunately, when we ran a check with the share register, we found out that there was an error that invalidated one of the names. The nominator was Alhaji Laoye Alimi Titiloye, and the nominee happened to be Mr. Ogunwole Benjamin Bukumi. There was either a signature irregularity or something that didn't quite tally. So unfortunately, it was invalidated also. Consistently, therefore, in line with the extant law, what we have here are basically 3 names. Ibrude Moses nominated Chief Njoko Edmond. Mr. Eyanoku Peter nominated Mrs. Augustine Esther Funke. And Prince Akinlade Matthew nominated Chief Robert Aigwe. In line with the law, there are basically 3 candidates that are valid, and in line with that, I am not sure that an election is actually needed. But
thank you, Mr. Kano. Since we need 3 shareholders representative on the audit committee.
Company Secretary, what I want to find out, is this nominee and nominator, are they shareholder of our company? Are they named, because the signatures have nothing to do. What matters, are they shareholders? And the share recorded on their name, let register clarify that, If that is valid, is nominated, it's okay.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll answer your question. 2 things have been considered. 1, whether they're shareholders, and 2, the timing of the nominations. Yes, so essentially, one of the bases upon which the invalidation came through happened to be the timing. I do know that you are aware also that the law specifies a time frame 21 days prior to the AGM, and that is basically what we have done. So essentially, no election is happening. So I'll go back to the chairman to say that 3 candidates have been elected by the shareholder representatives, and they are qualified to proceed for the next year as statutory audit committee members for the shareholders.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kano. Okay, I hereby declare that the results of the election be formally announced by registrars.
Chairman, the next step to take is just to go ahead and mention the members who are now going to be audit committee members for the year 2022.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in line with the results, I therefore declare that the following shareholders and directors have been duly elected members of the AIICO Audit Committee until the conclusion of next annual general meeting in accordance with the provisions of Companies and Allied Matter Act. Mrs. Esther Funke Augustine, Chief Robert Igwe, Chief Inzoku Edmund Ozoma, Mrs. Samaila Zubairu, and Mr. Raymond Snyders. Thank you and congratulations to all the members. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the ordinary business to be considered at this meeting. May we now proceed to deliberate on the special business of the day. We have only one item on the special business. Under the repealed comma, limited liability companies were required to have authorized share capital, being the maximum capital company was permitted to issue shares up to, provided at least 25% were issued at any given time. Thus, it was possible for such companies to have unissued shares which form part of the authorized share capital. Comma 2020 has done away with the concept of authorized share capital and replaced it with only issued share capital. Furthermore, under the provisions of section 124 of comma 2020 and regulation 30 of the company's regulation 2021, limited liabilities companies are no longer permitted to have unissued shares in its capital. This means the companies can only have issued share capital and in addition must ensure that all such shares are issued at any given time. In the above circumstances, the board requests that the shareholders consider and if thought fit, pass the following special resolution. That the shareholders hereby approve, subject to all regulatory compliance, the cancellation of the total outstanding shares of 994,723,988 units of 50 kobo each, remaining unissued in the capital of the company, out of the authorized share standing at 37,600,000,000 in line with the extant laws. The authorized and issued share capital of the company is 36,605,276,012 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. Number 3, the memorandum of association of the company be amended by the insertion of the following at the end of paragraph 5 of the memorandum of the company, which is by a special resolution of the company passed at the annual general meeting of the company held on the 27th day of May 2022, the authorized share capital of the company is 36,605,276,012 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. Number 4, that the board be and is hereby authorized to take all necessary steps to give effect to this resolution. Would someone please rise and second the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The name is Prince Dr. Anthony Omojola. I do second that motion.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Okay, in case of no questions, we will now vote on the resolutions. And once again, I'll request registrars to come forward for the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting will last for 20 seconds. Voting starts now. Seconds. Voting has ended. Thank you. We ask that you remain patient while we display the results. We have 467 shareholders holding a total of 26,074,072,146 units, representing 100% of the total vote casted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With 100% votes in favor of the resolution, I hereby declare that the motion has duly been carried. Ladies and gentlemen, we have dealt with all the formal businesses of this meeting. I would like to thank you again on behalf of the board for attending and showing so much of interest in the affairs of our company. Before I declare the meeting closed, I request Chairman Emeritus to say a few words to the co-shareholders and the other stakeholders who are in attendance in this meeting, sir.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes. My fellow shareholders and friends, I have been coming from the beginning of the company to today, the new one, to all. I greet you. Let me express a main comment that by congratulating the chairman, board, and management for a great outing. Resilience to all difficulties around. That resilience is very, very important. Terrible political situation, out of ups and downs on demonstration and destruction. Matters have been comprehensively dealt with. I am proud and fortunate to be an AIICO stakeholder like you. Again, please, wow, in this new journey. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I think with this beautiful words, I hereby declare the meeting closed. Wishing you all safe return journey to your respective destinations. God bless you all. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you and goodbye.